right. So today we're going to dive into percents, dealing with our percent formula, which hopefully we have seen before. But here, let's watch our little intro video.
Hey all, I'm Javier, your host for this topic, which is all about percents. You probably feel like you know a bit about percents already. It does seem like you see them everywhere. But in this topic, we'll dive into this whole percent thing a little deeper. We'll find out how percents and the percent equation help describe things in the real world. We'll look at simple interest and learn why it's called simple, and find out when we would use simple interest. We'll learn about percent markups and percent markdowns, about when they are used, how they are similar, and how they are different. And finally, we will discuss how percents can be used to help you compare, predict, and make decisions. When you get down to it, isn't that why we do math in the first place? To figure stuff out? I'll see you soon. Now enjoy percents.
I really hope that at some point this year, some of you outgrow the need to say something when there's nothing happening. So, we have a drummer, and one of the problems with drumming is you can break sticks.
Oh man, not again.
Is to hit things. So our drummer
I'm
decides-
stronger than I look, I guess.
He looks at some skins, is another name for heads, like what you actually, the fabric, or used to be fabric, that goes over top of a drum. But so he decides, I'm just going to buy a whole new drum set. Forget about buying new heads. Just buy a whole, I did that once. I broke enough of my set. I put it for sale and bought a new drum set. That was also because the old one was my original drum set, and outgrew it. So we have these two drum kits here. They're pretty much the same. The online description, pretty much the same. They're the same price. They both have a hi-hat, a ride, and a crash cymbal, 2 toms, a floor tom, a snare, a bass. They're the same. How would we decide, not color, you can order these in whatever color you want, how would we decide which of these to order when you make a purchase online if you're comparing things that are pretty much the same? Baylor?
That denominator needs to be the same.
It doesn't. Actually, I know what you're thinking. We could compare our fractions only if the denominators are the same, but because of our chapter that we're in now, we don't have to make the denominators the same. Okay. We could take these values and say, well, if 9 out of 13 people like that drum set or love that drum set, I could look at that, instead of looking at it as a fraction, look at it as a decimal and compare my decimal values of what portion of people like that drum kit or love that drum kit, I guess. So 9 out of 13. Lily, you got it yet?
Oh no. This is the first time I opened my
6, 9, 2, 3. We'll stop there.
Oh, I didn't.
So then, our red drum set, do the same thing, but now we're going to do the 15 divided by the 21. Huh?
0.7142.
Which drum kit has a higher portion of people that like it? The red one, right? It's got a higher value. It's got better ratings. Not only does it have a better rating, it has more people that reviewed it. And when more people have reviewed it, that's a pretty trustworthy amount. Because if only 13 people have reviewed it, maybe the next few people are going to hate it. They're going to say this is not a good drum set. But since 21 people have reviewed this, that's almost double my other drum kit reviews.
So stores, I saw this commercial. It was about toothpaste. It said 4 out of every 5 dentists
Yeah.
approve of this toothpaste.
So really though, 4 out of 5 Well,
that simplified, or is that just did they just?
that would be well. It could be simplified, or they could have only asked 5 dentists.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Like they literally, and a lot of times there will be something in the fine print, like based on a survey, blah blah blah, or it might just say based on an independent panel, and that could be an independent panel of just 5 dentists. So 4 out of 5. When we look at that decimal value, 0.80. When we look at that percent value, it's 80%. So 4 out of 5, you're like, oh, only 1 dentist doesn't like it. Well, no. What that really means is 20% of dentists don't recommend that. But it's way better to say 4 out of 5 because your brain says, oh, only 1 person didn't like it. When really it was actually 20% didn't like it. Ella?
So yeah, I don't know if this worked before. Like when I first saw this, it said like 9 of 13, so I meant that they multiplied.
So this of here really is meaning out of. They just kind of paraphrased it. So it's 9 out of 13 people that were surveyed.
Like I did it to both of them, and then like the red had the higher value, so didn't that like also kind of work?
No, because if you were doing it multiplication, it doesn't. What you're doing, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. All right, so we are gonna get through this real quick. In the percent equation, there's only 3 pieces of information: the part, the percent, and the whole. So our standard percent equation that we use is part equals percent times whole. Highlight this. Put stars next to it, put a box around it, something. This is your main equation that we use for just about everything. Now, if we want to relate this to our y equals mx form, m is always our multiplier. So, really, the part is some value multiplied by the whole. So, really, our part is some value multiplied by the whole amount. And a lot of times that value is less than 1. Now, if we wanted to find the part, that's easy. My equation's already set up. To find the part, I just do the math. I change my percent into a decimal and compute. But what if I'm not looking for the part? What if I'm looking for the whole or looking for the percent? Shahid, what do you got to say about it?
So would you just like divide the percent
Divide the percent
by the part,
to find what?
the whole?
You're close. Flip around your wording. If we want to find the whole, we need to get rid of the percent. So on both sides, we would divide by that percent. So on your paper, because this is not on your paper, I want you to write the whole is really, well, if I divided by the percent and divided by the percent, well, this would be like gotten rid of to get the whole by itself. So the whole is really equal to the part divided by the percent. But it's got to be in decimal form. So you might remind yourself.
You just change the percent to a decimal and then divide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always change your percent to a decimal first. Before doing the math, I guess. First is kind of a relative word. And then if I need to find the percent, we've done a lot with percent, so this should be easier. Percent is what divided by what? Grace, or Jackson, sorry. 2.
Percent is equivalent to part divided by whole.
Yep, part divided by whole. So I would write this on your paper too. The more times you write it, easier it is to remember. Percent is equal to part divided by whole, then we multiply by 100 just to get it into percent form. So, a lot of your 9-1 homework is going to be identifying, are we looking for the part, the percent, or the whole? So, real quickly, we're going to run down through these, just doing that. I would have us compute them, but since we're trying to cover 2 lessons at the same time, we won't worry about computing these right now. Is this looking for part, percent, or whole? Noah. 4 is what percent of 6?
It's looking for percent.
Yeah, it's looking for the percent. It literally says what percent. It's our unknown percent value. All these people ill today.
Yep.
Nate, 65 equals 30 over 100 times x. Now, what do you think this 30 over 100 is representing?
The percent.
That's representing my percent. So, what is it looking for? It's looking for the whole. What is 79% of 126, Miss Tyler?
Looking for the
The is equals. The of tells me to multiply.
it's looking for the
It's looking for the part. Because part equals the percent times the whole. 11 equals m times 50. Lily? Percent, right? M would be that percent. Zach, y equals 0.48 times 21. Give you another shot. Something equals 0.48. Well, that's really my percent, but it's already in decimal form, which means that my 21 is my whole. What? Part. And 4% of some number, Miss Bowers, is 12. This would be your whole. They have flipped the order around. 21 or 12 is your part, equal to your percent times your whole. So try the guide it there. What is it looking for? 190 is 10% of what number? James, what do you think? What are they looking for there? The whole. Because of what number? Well, we know that percent gets multiplied by the whole. So it is looking for the whole here. Questions, comments, concerns? Now, we actually get to do some math. So, first thing you have to identify is what are we looking for. Then you have to identify how do we find it. Then find it. So, 11 is what percent of 50? What are we looking for there? Percent, right? 25 is 4% of what number? What are we looking for in the second one? The whole. And as you can probably guess, the third one's looking for part. So try to compute each of those. Try not to look up at the board if possible. I am going to solve these.
Do it and freeze it and then.
It's really hard when I'm going to do 3 different ones.
Okay.
Now, I'm just going to set them all up in the percent equation to begin with, and then show the equation solving technique. Actually, the first one I did not, because to find percent, it's pretty easy to just do part divided by whole. But the second one is more so what I mean, that if I just set it up in the percent equation, then I can just divide by the percent amount on both sides. I think I know what it is. And as you get your answers, go ahead and look up here and check yours. Questions, comments, concerns? Lily?
How'd you get the last one?
What do you mean, how'd I get?
Wait, never mind.
So just remember 40% is really 0.40.
Yeah.
So when we do that times 60, we get 2.4 or 2.40. The last zero is unnecessary. Zach?
How'd you get the second?
Middle one? So I could set up my equation for the whole being part divided by percent value, or I just set this up in part equals percent times whole form. Well, if I have a number multiplied by a variable, to get rid of the number that multiplies, I have to divide by that number. And since I do it on one side, I have to do it on the other side. 25 divided by 0.04 gives me 625. Nate.
I don't know if I made a mistake or if you made a mistake, but it was 0.4 times 60, right?
Yeah.
So if you multiply the 4 and the 0, that adds the 0.
Ah, I got dyslexic.
24.
Yeah, it's not 2.4, it's 24.
Yeah.
When I typed it in, my 0 and my 4 got switched. Don't know how. I think I might have glanced over and saw the 4%. Good catch. I need to delete that page. Try the got it on your own. See how good you are. To check if they're true, you need to test each one. Put a check mark if it's true, cross it out if it's false. Need a calculator this chapter. If you don't have a TI-30, you should get one because your iPhone kind of stinks. You want to verify? We'll verify with your classmates.
Oh, okay.
Without the
How you
kind
doing?
Huh?
Without the kind.
Can I say my answer?
Oh, when everyone else does. Carrie, what do you think about the first one? Is that true or false? True, right? 7 is 50% of 14 because 50% is just half. Shahid, what about the second one? 28 is 14% of 200? Think about 14% of 100. 14% of 100 would be 14. Double your whole, you double your part. It is true. Olivia, what about number 3?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten that far. Hold on.
I know.
Ella? False. 40% of 14, well, we could do 1.4 times 4. This would have actually been, did anyone figure it out?
42.
Oh, no, it was 15.
15?
Or, yeah. So that was 5.
That's true.
I think it's 5.6.
So I have 15.
Yeah, it's 5%.
So I did 6 divided.
So what we're looking at is what would the part be? So if you did 0.4 times 14, then you get 5.6. So 5.6 should have been the part if this were true. So the 6 would have to be 5.6. And number 4, Pranav. Don't ask me, tell me. Why is your calculator closed? You should be using that and checking each of these. So you're just sitting there waiting for the answers, right?
Yeah, I was trying to do it on my phone.
Okay. I'm telling you, use a calculator. Ella? True. So the only one that's false there is number 3.
I'm not sure what to do. It seems a little, I don't know, long? Yeah, that looks good.
So, one thing you have to watch out for is being manipulated by people when they assume that you're not going to check what they've done. I've heard more times than I'd like to hear people not being treated fairly by their employers or the person who works above them or their manager or whatever. So you've been told you're going to get an 8% wage raise. Sorry, kind of hard to say. So your current wage is $7.50, and they tell you your raise amount is going to be 55 cents each hour. So that would take your pay to $8.05 total per hour.
That's not even.
Let's
minimum wage.
check this. The raise amount is supposed to be 8% or 0.08 times what you're making now. Check that math. What do you get for the raise amount? Chief? 60 cents. Not 55. Bobby the barber is trying to cheat you over. And you might think, well, it's only 5 cents. That's 5 cents every hour you work.
And multiply how many hours you work.
You work 8 hours a day, that's 40 cents. You work 5 days a week, that's now $2. In a month, he's now cheated you out of $8. And in the year, he's now cheated you out of almost $100. Just from a little 5-cent error. You gotta check the math and be an intelligent consumer. Try this. You get a certificate for a haircut. After the haircut, you want to leave an appropriate tip because barbers, salon workers, a lot of them are tippable positions. They don't make as much as they should, so you tip them to show a little extra appreciation. So even if you don't pay for the haircut, you got the haircut for free, you want to leave a tip. The receptionist said you should leave $3. That would be a 20% tip. What would be the price of the haircut? Hint, you're trying to find the whole amount here. So, I'll take your comments when you write down the work that you did. Where's your work for this one too? Like how you're not showing how you got there. You're just being lazy. Like I know that you know, but write it down because a day, 2 days from now, you never know what you're gonna forget. Guys, we like with our whole language goals and everything else, like we talked to you guys about our TBT and whatnot. One of our big goals is just getting you guys to like follow through with what you should be doing. So along with like writing complete sentences, capital letters, punctuation, when you don't show any work, especially when I'm giving you tons of time, you're just being lazy. And you're gonna start to get really annoyed because we're gonna start to come down kind of hard because we're in the middle of the year. This should be established. Like you know how we take notes in class. You know how it rolls. Don't just write down the answer, write down how you got there.
It's a pretty cheap haircut.
Yeah. I normally go to
Depends
Great
on how old
Clips.
they.
So
Depends on how old they are.
yeah, depends on like what all was involved.
I go to a hair salon.
Karen, are you able to talk me through this?
I go to my mom's hair salon.
Okay. Seth, you able to talk me through this?
Yeah.
Sweet. How did you set this up?
I did 3 divided by 0.2
Why?
because 20%. So to get a whole, you have to do the part divided by the percent, and you have to change the percent into a decimal.
Ah.
Divided by 0.2. So you do 3 divided by 0.2, which equals $15.
Or you can multiply what I did. You could multiply because I know 20% is 1/5.
Ah,
So
yeah.
I multiply by 5. Yeah, that's
If the
good.
part is a fifth of the whole,
Yeah, that's
then you can
good.
just multiply by 5 to find the whole. Very good.
Thank you.
So the haircut would be $15 normally. I think Great Clips right now charges $13. They're all starting to get expensive.
I go to sports.
That only charges
Yeah, I go to hair salon.
All right, questions, comments, concerns on this? Without breaking Peyton's laptop, somebody want to pass out the 9-2 notes?
So let's not have.
Yeah, let's not
The
break it.
laptop almost died. So.
We're gonna go real quick because we really only need a couple examples.
It was. You can take the case off.
Yeah, 3.2. Make sure that you change the 3 to a 9.
Let's not break it. Let's not break it.
Don't forget about the crumbs.
So the real thing that you need to realize from this lesson is there are two different situations, generally two different situations, where percents change values. When you add to a value or when you subtract from a value. So, every time you go make a purchase that is not food, and food is a sometimes, but every time you make a purchase that is not food, you also pay sales tax. Sales tax is the government's way to get their little bit of money because you're spending money. So just like if you own property, you pay property taxes. When you have a job and you make money, you pay taxes. So when you go out and you spend money, you pay taxes. So sales tax is always a percentage. In Ohio, it's about 7% depending on where you are. Approximately 7%.
So that's like lower than 0.16 as a decimal.
It's 0.07. So you would calculate the amount of tax, and to find the total you spend, you add it with the price before the tax, or the subtotal. Before tax is called a subtotal. You might write that down. That before tax is a subtotal. Then, when I worked at Macy's and sold fine jewelry, if I sold a $1,000 whatever, let's say a real nice watch, yeah, fine jewelry counter. If I sold a $1,000 watch and I made 9% commission, I would make, well, my commission was 0.09 times 1,000. Really, I can just move my decimal over 3 places since it's times 1,000. So I made $90 off selling that watch. Which really means, how much money did Macy's get from that watch?
Not yet.
I would have to take what we sold it for and take away the commission that I earned to find how much they still made after I got my cut. So, when I have a friend, we're going to see a problem based off this. When you work a job that pays commission, you essentially are saying, oh, I made a sale. Here's my cut. Here's your cut. Like it's splitting the money into here's what the salesperson gets and here's what the company gets or the store gets.
So do people at jewelry stores, if they like,
not all jewelry stores work like commission. The reason that Macy's was I got paid the same thing that I would have if I just worked the floor and folded clothes and didn't really have to interact with people. But I had a lot of responsibilities interacting with people, showing jewelry, keeping the count right, like pricing things. So I got a base pay plus commission. There's other jobs where you get only commission. Like my buddy who works at CarMax, he gets only commission. So if he doesn't sell any cars, he doesn't make any money. So that's bad when you work in a retail store because you can have good days and bad days. And if I always worked on the slow days where we didn't have a lot of sales and I didn't make very much money, because that's not my fault, I'm stuck behind the counter. When you sell cars, it's kind of different. You got to go talk to the people on the lot. You got to make that sale. Nate?
So do real estate agent is a real estate agent because if they like sell a house?
Real estate agent, from what I know, is just commission. They only get paid if they make money.
So they make
or they only get paid if they make a sale.
It takes a while to make the money, but they make a lot of money, right?
Yeah, like it might take you a month with somebody to find the house they want, but then when they buy that house, you make all that commission. We're gonna see problems based off this. So,
Panthers Soccer Club party of 15? Oh boy, this is gonna be fun.
Gratuity is showing that you are gracious, that you have gratitude for what they've done. So when you have a very large group, like we went out to Hound Dogs on Friday night and we had a big group, big enough that they charged us gratuity. It's automatic tip that they put in. You don't even have the choice. So if you ask your parents, talk to them about this. When you go out with a big group, normally it's bigger than 6 or bigger than 8. When you go out with a big group, gratuity, like your tip is no longer optional. So, and it'll say it on the menu. It'll say groups over 8, gratuity automatically added, or things like that.
But what if you guys all pay for stuff separately?
it gets added onto each of your bills separately. Like like our gratuity down at Hound Dogs, I think was an automatic 18%, but then and that's not that bad. Normal tipping is between 15 and 20%, so 18 is right in the middle of like where you should be tipping. Another thing that gets added on without you being able to say yes or no, tax always does that. Gratuity, sometimes you have really big groups, but tax, you do not have the option of paying tax or not. You have to, or else you're breaking the law. So, to find the tax, you should be writing this. We take our tax percent, our 5%, make it 0.05, times the subtotal, $142. And we get $7.10. So to then find my total, we're going to take the subtotal, my 142, and add the tax with it. So now I get that my total for my meal was $149.10.
So what if you like? I was just thinking about like, so could you like, if you had a big group of you all came in separately, like one person came in, got their stuff, sat down, then like 5 minutes later they came in.
I mean, if you were at different tables, then yeah, you probably like it maybe wouldn't add on, and because you might end up with different servers. But if you're all together, one big group, one big party,
What if the
gratuity's
server's just
probably
like
gonna.
atrociously horrible?
Yeah,
at what
that's
they're
the
doing?
risk that you run when you take out a dozen people.
And like they probably don't try as hard because they know they're gonna get the same tip every time.
That's a potential.
Stupid.
It is. So you should have this all filled out for the Got It. The Got It's right below here. The Got It is asking if the coaches only have $175 to pay for everything and they want to tip 18%. Here's the thing that a lot of Americans do wrong, and it's better that they do it wrong. It's nicer that they do it wrong. But when you tip, you only need to tip off the subtotal. When you calculate your tip, you calculate using the subtotal. A lot of Americans accidentally calculate their tip using the total, including the tax. You don't need to. So the tip is going to be a percentage of the subtotal. So then to do that, my percentage, go ahead and try this on your own. Don't look up here. I'm going to try to barricade myself.
Oh, that's cool.
Is it writing on my back?
Big tip.
Yeah.
It's writing on the back of your head.
I thought the tip was already added on.
No, that was the tax, was the first thing that we added on. So here, I brought up gratuity just talking about big groups eating out. This pizza place did not automatically add the gratuity. But if they did, it would be what we're finding right now. If they had an automatic. And a lot of places use 18% because it's kind of a mental trick. It doesn't seem as bad as 20, but it's like right almost there. Like 18% might as well be 20. What'd you get, Lily?
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
Is it just me, or are we doing like a different problem?
It's the same problem, the same bill and everything. Yours, you should just have this filled in and this filled in.
I know, but the hamburger numbers and the.
Oh yeah, our numbers are different numbers.
It doesn't matter. It's the same dollar amounts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does not matter.
We still have the same amount.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. That must have been a change from like last year to this year or whatever. So, Rye, you got $25 and
56 cents.
56 cents. So then, if we add the tip onto here, what would my total with everything be? Peyton?
167.56 is your final.
Did you add that with the 142?
Yeah.
Because you need to also pay the tax. They're going to chase you down and say you didn't pay the tax.
Would you get a
Shaheeb?
deal for that?
174.
And
56.
66 actually.
You're wrong.
Oh, they got really close.
So the coaches would probably just leave the entire like $175
Why? Unless they're
because
cheating,
it's
like,
so
those
close.
34 cents
you're not gonna like wait and get 34 cents of change back. Like
Unless
you
you're like
just
really
normally
cheap,
leave
like
it.
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, maybe.
1 cent is like $200.
So we did not cover as much as I would like to. We will pick this up tomorrow. We'll finish this lesson then. And then we'll move on and do 9-3. So I'm going to post both homeworks tonight. Don't feel like you have to get done with 9-2. Do not feel like you have to get done with it. Again, I'm going to give you a work day next week so you can get caught up. So try it. Do your best. That's all I'm asking for.
Did you hear about conspiracy theorists and stuff like that?
Yeah.